Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kiki, and we've been a little quiet, we've been a little MIA, but we are coming back strong with a video that just goes back to our roots. It goes back to what I originally started doing on this channel, and that is a good old-fashioned reading vlog. This week, we are reading Fearless by Lauren Roberts. You heard that right. We are reading Fearless by Lauren Roberts. If you are new here or if you have not seen any of my tier ranking videos, there's something you should know, and that is that I found Powerless, Reckless, very mid. I actually have a Reckless reading vlog. I don't know why I just forgot about that, but I have a Reckless reading vlog if you really want to see my take. Honestly, I actually forgot I pre-ordered this book. Yeah, I forgot I pre-ordered it, and then everyone was talking about it. It's like, oh, it's coming out, it's coming out, it's coming out. I was like, am I gonna read Fearless? I don't think I'm gonna read for it. And then I got the Barnes & Noble email. So, expectations. That's how we always start these reading vlogs. I have no expectations. Head absolutely empty. Hey, nothing. Not a single thing in there. I have done a very good job as to not seeing any spoilers. I'm keeping expectations real low because I got burned with Reckless. I'm talking as if like I didn't rate Reckless like I think a 3. They're not bad. Little mid. I am surprised at how fat this book is compared to Powerless and Reckless. I have been in a semi-reading slump. I have only finished one book, and it is right now April 21st in the span of an entire month, and that one book was Crown of Midnight, and that took me a lot. That took a lot of willpower. I think I mainly listened to it. The brain, she's not cooking well. Let's get into it. Okay, y'all, we are on page 98, 99, chapter 12. I only read 50-ish pages last night, just got to page 100, wanted to do a little check-in because as I was updating my reading status on Fable, I realized this book is actually 600 pages. And to give you check-ins every 50 pages is too much. I'm gonna try to do every 100 pages so that this video is not 3 hours long, but just know if there's long stretches, I'm doing my best, okay? There's apparently way more to cover than I anticipated. So first thoughts, now that we're 100 pages in, I completely forgot how lyrical and poetic the author of this book really tries to be. At first, I didn't mind it in Powerless or Reckless. I was like, okay, like maybe this is just her style. Reading it in Fearless, I'm like, okay girl, we get it. I get it. But low key, we need to find different ways of describing events, people, emotions, because it just starts to feel so repetitive. And I don't mean that she's using necessarily similar words, but everything is described in a cadence meant to sound poetic. So it's like da-da, da-da, da-da. Everything is in threes, right? Let me find an example. Shoulder to shoulder, fabric to face, gaze to stars. I give up trying to find another example, but that's my point, right? It feels very much a cadence. It feels very repetitive. And as you're reading, especially a book this thick, this dense, it just does not help the brain stay focus, because my brain at least gets lazy and is like, yeah, we're reading like the same thing over and over again, and it wants to start skimming. Right now where I'm at, we finally find out kind of what is going on for this book to be 600 pages, and it feels like I'm reading the same book. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't want... Actually, this is gonna be a spoiler vlog, just because I want to be able to talk freely about this book. So here's your warning: if you for whatever reason want to read Fearless, this is going to be a spoiler inclusive vlog. What I'm saying is that why is Peyton going through another set of trials? Did we not already read about that in Powerless? Why am I going to read 600 pages of her going through another set of trials just to prove that she could be queen?
Does that sound like it makes sense? Does it sound like it makes sense?
It's giving, respectfully, we don't know what else to write about. Also, the other thing that's kind of bothering me is that I feel like the angst between Kai and Peyton at this point feels very rehashed. I believe in my vlog for Reckless, where it just felt like their banter and their angst was a reiteration but different font of what they went through in Powerless. Same thing here, girl. Same thing here. I don't know why I thought it would be different. Actually, I didn't even think it would be different. I guess I don't know why I'm so upset. From the things that they're going through, the scenes that they have with the sneaking under the willow tree and trying to sneak, and oh, well, let's just pretend to, like, be with each other even though we can't because now I'm engaged to your brother. I feel like I'm reading the same thing. I don't understand why this book is 600 pages. There really is nothing that has happened in these first 100 pages that has made me think, oh yeah, this book can really turn it around for the series. It's actually done the opposite. We are almost halfway through Fearless, and right now, it's not good. This may be my least favorite out of all three. I believe I mentioned this in an earlier clip, but this book is 588 pages, right? So if I pick up a book that is this long, I'm expecting the plot to be gripping. I'm expecting it to be building. That doesn't make sense. Right now, there are no stakes in this. Is Peyton going through trials? Absolutely. She's on her way to complete the second trial. She's going to... I don't even remember the name of the place. That's how little it's mentioned. She is going to... Sorry, I'm trying to understand this map. She's going to Isram, I believe. She's crossing the sea to go to, I believe the country is Isram, to drop off some roses, because apparently roses have a bunch of medical benefits, and Kit is trying to do something that will also open trade between Ilya and Isram again, because his father, absolute bobo. So that's her whole second trial, going delivering these roses, right? And she's crossing this treacherous sea that apparently no one can cross anymore because it's that treacherous. Why is it that treacherous? We don't know. That's not explained. The only thing that we're told is that it's treacherous. Jax's parents died trying to cross that ocean, and potentially the animals that are in this universe that we never really hear about also may have powers. Back to my main point is that you would think, because she's doing these trials, that similar to Powerless, there would be stakes, there would be pressure, you would be able to feel that. No, it does not feel high stake. It does not feel like Peyton is fighting for her life. She says she's fighting for her life. She says 500,000 times how she feels like death is on her back, that death is now her bestie, but we don't see that, we don't feel that through the storytelling. That goes hand in hand too in terms of her and Kai's relationship. I don't feel the angst that they are telling me they have. If you are so brokenhearted about Peyton, Kai, why are you always with Peyton? I feel like it's supposed to be this, oh, we're just doing one last trip together, or just like, oh, we're stealing a moment away, but you have been stealing moments since you returned to Ilya. Everyone in that castle knows y'all love each other. That's how bad they are doing at a job of covering up their love for each other. Point number 2, I hate to say it, but it feels like the trials are a very midway of trying to expand the world and explore it without putting much thought into it. And I know, I hear it already. Well, this is a romantasy, not a fantasy romance. Even romantasies have standards. I literally am not even scared about her going on these trials because I already know that she's gonna survive. I know she's gonna survive. I know something's gonna happen. She's gonna find a way of living, and then she's gonna go back to the castle and she's gonna be like, oh, well, I'm still just ordinary. I'm not powerful. And it just feels like a last minute, yeah, I am a fantasy novel. So here we're gonna go explore the world that I've been showing you in this map since book 1. We're finally gonna go do it, but it's in a rushed way. Point number 3, I kind of briefly touched on this with the trials about feeling repetitive. If I have to hear Peyton come back from a trial after surviving it, because I already know she's gonna survive it, again, there's no stakes. Homegirl is making it to the end of this book. There's no way she's not making it. But if I have to hear her one more time come back to the castle and then complain about how she is not powerful, even though she has done X, Y, and Z, A, B, C from the beginning of Powerless to now, I'm gonna lose my mind. There is no reason at this point in this book that her character development has not progressed to her actually starting to believe that she can be powerful without having some sort of magic ability. She's done literally too much. Right? She's done too much for us to be reading that hashtag. I don't need to hear her because once again we're going on the trial. She's just ordinary. I know she's supposed to be traumatized because the king gave her the star. But if I have to hear one more time that self-deprecating talk, I am going to trial. She is going to lose any credibility she has that that's great guys. Same with if I hear one more thing from Kyle, it feels like the author has about 10 different ways of describing emotions, and every time she wants to describe emotion B, she just takes emotion B and she finds a new poetic way of explaining emotion B, but it still sounds like emotion B, if that makes sense. Or, worst case scenario, it doesn't make any sense at all. Let me see if I can find an example. I actually tabbed this one because when I read it the first time, it just made no sense to me. Here, Peyton is getting ready for the ball after the first trial. She says, after a long while in which I dwell only within my thoughts, I manage to gather enough courage to peek at my reflection. But I don't recognize the girl within it. Her lashes are darkened, her lips tinted the color of blood. She looks like the sharpness that piercing grief hones one into, like fearlessness carved out of necessity, not courage. Huh? Phrases like that are just spread throughout the story as she's trying to describe how hardened and heartbroken and tortured Peyton is, or Kai is. It just feels like we're trying too hard, and I hate to say it like that, but it feels like that, and on top of that, as a reader, it sometimes makes no damn sense when you're reading it. It feels convoluted, and in a way, feels contradictory to how you see the characters act. I think if I was not filming this vlog, I probably would have DNF'd this book already, but we're determined. I also think I already know how this plot is gonna play out, because we've been getting flashbacks of the king, Edric, of when he was married to his first wife after Kit was born, and we find out that his first wife, Iris, was pregnant with a second baby. We find out that his mom passes away through giving birth, but this baby lives, and this baby is born powerless. My prediction is that Peyton was this baby, and that the king gives it to his workers, and we find out that a mind reader doesn't say the mind reader's name. A mind reader speaks up and says, I will, handle the baby. And I believe that mind reader is Callum. And I believe Peyton is going to be the baby, and she's the long-lost princess of Illyria and the daughter of Iris and Edric and Kit's full-blooded sister. Because that is going to be the only reason why Kit cannot marry Peyton without killing Peyton. Because not only does that make it literal incest if they get married, and that's a big no-no, but it means that she is actually of royal blood. So since she's actually of royal blood, she cannot be killed. And I think that's how she's going to end up with Kai. And then we're going to find out something about Kai, that Kai is actually not related to the king. That way they could be together. I'm going to continue reading. I'm probably going to update y'all page 400. 400 is roughly like around here. That's a lot for me to read. There should be enough in these 200 pages for me to update y'all on something. So we'll catch up then. little awkward. We're in my car and we're using my phone and not my camera, so hopefully the quality is good and hopefully no one looks at me too weird in this Wawa. We have been listening to Fearless on audio since last night, since I started doing some packing, and I had to go to a job site today for work, so we really locked in for the last hour and a half or so. We are now on chapter 49. We just finished the third trial. Spoiler alert, Kai is not dead. Did I believe Kai was dead for 1 second? Absolutely not. I knew that there was no way that this man was actually dead. I knew it was some sort of trick. I said there's no way. There's no way that Miss Lauren Roberts is going to kill this man off. Happy to see I was right. I think Kit's plan, brilliant. Why they're angry at Kit, I don't really get that. I'm going to be real with you. I really don't get it. It's kind of like a win-win scenario for everyone. Of course, Kit couldn't tell you, Kai, that that was his plan because you wouldn't go through with it and then you would actually die. And he doesn't want his brother to die. He doesn't want Peyton to die. He's just doing the best he can. I don't see how he is potentially a villain for that, truly. I think the real villain actually still is Callum. There is something about how sick Kit is, how Kit is apparently seeing and talking to things. I don't know. Something about Callum just rubs me wrong. He's just suspicious. Hey, you know, call it far-fetched, whatever. I think something deeper is going on with Kit. I think something deeper besides just him potentially being sick. I think his mind is getting a little fuddled from Callum. I think there are forces at play. So that's where I'm at. I'm also gonna say that the narrators for this book did a heck of a job. Let me tell you, congrats to y'all. I don't know who y'all are. I'm gonna have to look you guys up. You guys do a phenomenal job. You are saving this book for me. The way y'all narrated it make it sound so much better than the words on a page. Maybe it's just like the inner monologue I have for these characters that just doesn't translate well. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still not stellar writing, but the narrators really do, they're putting in work. That's the update. I just wanted to give a little bit of a verbal update as to where I am, how I'm feeling. I am only on chapter 49, so there's a lot to go still. I think the audiobook said I have like 5 hours, and I'm just trying to figure out what really is going to happen in those next 5 hours. I think this book could have been so much shorter. I think this book could have been so much shorter and it wouldn't be as bad, but I digress because I've already said that like probably 5-10 times in this video. Hopefully we finish this soon because I have taken almost 2 weeks to read this book. Obviously I'm not reading every single day, but 2 weeks to read this book. It's just, enough is enough. I need to get it together. I need to wrap it up. I have other things I want to read. I knew it. I put 2 and 2 together so fast. Context. I am on chapter 62, page 486. Callum is dead. Callum is dead. You know why Callum's dead? Because he's a dirty little liar. That's why he's dead. I just got to the point where they killed him. They revealed the truth. Peyton, she is a princess. Princess Pay. The only thing I didn't get right is that she actually isn't full-blood related to Kit. She is only half related to Kit. Still an ick since they're technically married and they did do a little smooch. The only mystery I have not been able to put together yet is this whole secret amongst kings and what Peyton's dad figured out. Do I think it makes sense that Peyton's dad figured out this top secret thing and that is why he was murdered? No. I think the author just should have left it that he was the resistance leader and that's why he got murdered, because right now this little tiny subplot about this kingly secret, him finding it out, and that's why he had to die, just feels like another way of trying to be like, aha, you were confused, you were actually wrong, look at this other jump scare-esque plot twist that you just would have never guessed. I do believe Kit is gonna die. This reason for him to potentially die and for him to be so sickly, I know is related to that kingly secret of whatever top secret nonsense they have going on. Count how many times I say secret. I just hope plot-wise it makes sense, and again does not feel like just a plot twist for the sake of being a plot twist, because that would be very unfortunate. It really annoys me that we have all these revelations happening in these last 200 pages where the plot really just starts clicking. Stepping back from the story, there really aren't enough, at least in my opinion, foreshadowing elements, storytelling elements that really help tie these points with Callum and the Resistance and how he was the mind reader and a controller and he was actually secretly working for the king. Like, there is not enough substance throughout the whole trilogy that really makes this plot point feel solid. It feels kind of like a last minute thought. What can I craft to make the villain just someone you really wouldn't have expected, and just absolutely everything you thought about, it was wrong. It's fine when authors do that. I love it, but it needs to have payoff. It needs to be something that if I go back and I reread this whole trilogy, that I can pick up on these things if I am paying attention, that I'm like, yes, I see it now. I see how I miss all of this. And I just feel like that is what's missing from this trilogy, from this story. That really slow buildup of these plot twists going on. But I'm intrigued. Or maybe I'm not intrigued and I'm just excited to be done. That is also a possibility. I'm thinking that may be more the possibility. What did I just read? This chapter doesn't even have a chapter number. Why does it just say Edric? I have 53 pages left in this book. Do I even want to say this spoiler? Like, yes, I was right, but wrong? I'm so lost, and not in a good way. I'm lost in the way that I don't understand how we got from A to B. Why does it feel like I'm suddenly at the letter Z? I said I was gonna stop at an hour ago. I filmed my last piece and I said, all right, y'all, I'll see you tomorrow. And I think I'm seriously gonna have to call it a night. If not, I'm going to be here until midnight. I do only have 50 pages. No. To make it real serious, see this app? You know what this app is if you use it. I have finished Fearless. Final rating before we get into the details: 2.5. 2.75. 2.5. That's where we're at. I did try to take some notes while I was listening these last 50 pages, just to really get my thoughts all together, and I'm sure some of them are repeats from my little updates throughout reading, but I just really needed to write them down so I knew what I was talking about. Number 1, Hayden and Kai felt way too repetitive throughout the whole book. Actually, the whole book in general felt really repetitive. It was, in a way though, worse than how repetitive Reckless was, because at least Reckless was a different setting, a different vibe. This felt almost like a full rehash of the first book, Powerless, except it was just Peyton doing her own trials. And to make matters worse, like I said previously, it felt like there was no stakes, there was no tension, there was no pressure. That all of that was just really taken out of the game, because you already know that there is no way Peyton is not making it out alive at the end of this book. Second point, the twists were not foreshadowed well. And I don't mean the twist of Peyton being the queen's daughter, because that was so in your face. When you read that chapter, whatever chapter it is, you immediately know Peyton is of royal blood. The twist that Callum was her father, I was like, okay, you know, it is what it is. That it makes a little bit more sense. Her being related to Kit, got it. Again, very spelled out. The twist about Kai, I was like, okay, you know, again, if she's gonna make Peyton royal blood, that means Kai cannot be royal blood, because they are very, very obviously going to be together at the end of this book. As they say probably 500 times in the entire series, they're inevitable, right? So they're making it to the end, which means when it came out that Kai was not a legitimate heir to the throne, it wasn't too much of a shocker. But the plot twist about Kit being the villain, that's where you lose me. In no way, shape, or form throughout this whole trilogy does that even seem to be a possibility. It was to the point where I was shocked, not because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so unexpected. I was shocked because I was absolutely dumbfounded as to how we got from A to B. This kind of leads me into point number 3, where I said Kit's motive honestly makes no sense. It just feels like a way for him to get out of the picture for Peyton. And I believe that is a possibility. I believe that originally this was meant to be a love triangle. It was maybe meant to just be like a one-off story. The book started picking up, whatever, and then Homegirl needed to write a trilogy all of a sudden. But unfortunately, she did not plan out the full story, or maybe she pivoted halfway through and just didn't want to keep writing the love triangle trope. I feel like it would have made more sense if you just stuck with the love triangle. If you had stuck with Kit and Kai having issues with each other because of a love triangle, because they both fell in love with Peyton. Kit is struggling with Peyton because she killed his father. All of that stuff. Is it cliche? Yes. Is it really a big trope? Of course. But him being the villain made no sense. I'm like reading his letters and I'm like listening to his monologue and I'm listening to him obsess over Kai in a way that just makes no sense for his character. And at a certain point, I was just like, what happened to the plot? What happened to Kit? He took the plug in Reckless while Kai was out getting Peyton. So that means this whole time, at least halfway through Reckless, he has been deteriorating. But even before that deterioration, he knew of Peyton, he knew the situation, and it just doesn't, like, it does not make sense with his character in the first book. His whole plotting that he's done through Reckless and Fearless, it just does not jive. I don't understand. I don't get it. Since we're speaking about Kit's character, I want to say that the same could be said about Kai and Peyton. Their development absolutely stunted, which is unfortunate because I feel like there could have been so much more depth added, and they ended up feeling so flat, like I said, so repetitive, and just you don't really want to root for them in the end. Like, you want to root for Kai, don't get me wrong, because I think Kai is just Kai. And if you read a lot of fantasy, you read a lot of YA fantasy, you read a lot of enemies to lovers, you naturally are just going to want to root for Kai regardless. There's nothing wrong that he could do, right? He's the very, very thin layer of Elmer's glue that quite literally holds and binds all of these pages together. And as much as I love him, I hate to say he was so flat as well. They were just both, I did not care really about their romance. I did not care about them as characters once I hit the 50% mark of this book, because there was nothing new being shown. There was no new development, no new challenge, nothing happened. Just poor characterization on all accounts. Point number 4, Pei actually never really won any trials. She just had insane plot armor. Yeah, I think, again, there was no stakes. There was nothing that made me feel on the edge of my seat. Homegirl somehow managed to quite literally stab a toothpick into the eye of a ginormous, terrifying monster of the sea that kills a bunch of people. That's according to the story. And she just wins. She defeats this monster that way. It's plot armor. I know, like, of course she's gonna have some plot armor because she's an ordinary fighting against elites, but at least in Powerless, it felt real. It felt a little bit more like, yeah, this makes sense. These trials... Next point, I feel like the theme of this series was trying to say there's power in being your true self, but I think it just gets lost in the sauce. Maybe it shows it well. It just somehow feels like it gets really lost in that throughout this book, because you see Peyton be so down on herself about being ordinary for the first 60-75% of this book. It isn't until she finishes the third trial that you see her actually embrace who she is, and it's like, girl, you should have embraced this like in Reckless already. Why did Kit have this plan of marrying Peyton from the get, knowing they were half related? Lauren, that should have never been in your book. You created a character who was okay with doing that. I'm also gonna say the desecration of the willow tree, that's also not okay.
Right to jail, right away.
Why was Kai still jealous of Kit and Peyton? Their knees touching, knowing that they're half siblings, and knowing that they're only going through with this wedding for the sake of photos, knowing they're not going to do anything because they're siblings. Why are you writing a chapter of his point of view where he's jealous of this and talking about still how he's losing her? Next point, the overall pacing of the story was so bad. I think that if you're going to have all these plot twists about Peyton being royal, Count being her father, Kit going crazy, Kai not being a legitimate heir, you could have spread out these different things throughout an entire 588 page book. This book is 588 pages, and almost 450 pages of it were the trials. I think those pages were supposed to be like angst, yearning, just absolute, I don't even know the word, just absolute despair for Kai and Peyton. But you don't even get that, because as much as they're saying to you and to each other, I can't be with you, I can't see you, why are they sneaking around every corner to be with each other? So it just felt like, okay, what's going on? You're giving me nothing until you hit the marriage. Those are kind of my big points. It just, I feel like really lacked. It feels like a really lackluster conclusion to the trilogy. I still desperately wanted it to turn around. I really just wanted it to give me more. I can see the potential that Lauren has as a writer. I think she just needs to maybe plot things out a little bit better, pace things out a little bit better, try to add more depth to these characters. Maybe look up a thesaurus. Sorry, that came out wrong. That came out very mean. It's inevitably my ruin if I see those words so many times. I'll end with a few questions that I had. We don't see Kai's mom die. Is she dead? Who is Kai's dad? Why is Kit literally in a miserable limbo? That epilogue? Why is he literally by himself? That made me feel even worse for him. I think it was supposed to come off as like a nice comforting thing. It didn't comfort me. What do you mean Death was actually the form of the old queen and she was actually the vision Kit was talking to? And why is it that she was trying to save him and he didn't listen? Why is their child named Kit with one T and not Adina? And why did Peyton accept Kit's wedding ring as her wedding band and not just get a separate one? Why is that wedding band not on Kai's hand? That makes more sense. Why did Mac meet Peyton? They have a reconciliation. I almost messed up that word. But they reconciled in loot just for him to then want to kill her. And that is how he ended up in the third trial. Because that made him feel very much like a throwaway character. Why have that top secret place that they mythical whatever nonsense, I don't even remember the name of it, starts with an A. Why even have it on the map if you don't even visit it? I never felt more free than I have lately than when I finished this book. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. I hope that in the next few weeks I'll be posting more. We are literally in the midst of a move, hence why my walls are empty and my chair looks different and the lighting is really poor, but hopefully I'll still be able to film some things, create some things. If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think about Fearless, let me know what you're reading, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.